All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is that you're listening. Um, I noticed on my last video that it was snapping and popping a little bit, so I've turned the gain back and I've turned the volume back a little bit, so hopefully it won't snap and pop this time. Let's see, let's open this up and let's get right to this. All right. Oh, darn. Um, yeah, okay. We're showing live and all that. So let's get on with this. Sammy the Squirrel's newsletter, The Fight Against the Deep State, Trump, Kennedy, Nixon, and Eisenhower's warning. In his farewell address on January 17th, 1961, President Dwight D. Eisenhower issued a stark warning to the American... Oh, before I start, when I first posted this, I thought I had figured out how to put the articles in between instead of just linking them. But when I posted it, it didn't come out right. So I went in and re-edited it. And just put the hyperlinks in because it didn't work out the way I thought it was. All right. But in his farewell address on January 17th, 1961, President Dwight D. Eisenhower issued a stark warning to the American people about the growing influence of what he called the military-industrial complex. A five-star general who led the Allied forces in World War II, Eisenhower was no stranger to the necessity of a strong defense. Yet he cautioned that the unprecedented alliance between a permanent armaments industry and the military posed a grave threat to democracy, with a little d. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex, President Eisenhower said. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. His words were prophetic, foreshadowing a deeper, more insidious force that would come to be known as the deep state, a shadowy network of entrenched bureaucrats, intelligent operatives, and corporate interests that wield unchecked power, often through coercion, blackmail, and subversion. Fast forward to today, and Eisenhower's warnings resonates in the struggles of three presidents: Richard Nixon, John F. Kennedy, and Donald Trump, and I didn't capitalize president, who in their own ways confronted his entrenched power structure. Each faced severe consequences for daring to challenge the rot in Washington, D.C. And their stories reveal a chilling pattern of how the deep state uses blackmail and manipulation to maintain control over the levers of government. And I didn't capitalize it again. Eisenhower's warning, the seed of the deep state. Eisenhower's farewell address not only... Wait a minute. I rewrote this a couple times and it's still mixed up in my head. Eisenhower's farewell address was not just a reflection on his presidency, but a clear call for an alert and knowledgeable citizenry, to safeguard liberty against the creeping influence of a permanent war machine. He recognized that the Cold War had birthed a new reality, a vast defense industry intertwined with government, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of spending and influence. This wasn't just about tanks and jets. It wasn't about power, or it was about power. Eisenhower saw how defense contractors, military brass, and even members of Congress formed a symbiotic relationship, one that could prioritize profit and control over the public good. Does any of this sound familiar yet? You know, I mean, Eisenhower warned us all the way back at, the end of right after World War II about the military industrial complex and where it would lead America. And where are we? What Eisenhower didn't fully articulate, perhaps because it was still embryonic, in its infant stages, was how this complex would evolve into the deep state, a network that extends beyond the military to include intelligence agencies, corporate elites, and unelected bureaucrats. These entities, as we've seen, don't just influence policy, they actively work to subvert leaders who threaten their grip on power. I can't believe it. The stories of Nixon, Kennedy, and Trump illustrate this grim reality. Richard Nixon, the political assassination. Richard Nixon's presidency. Oh, geez, I didn't know. Well, in a case study in the deep state's ability to destroy those who step out of line, elected in a landslide in 1972, Nixon sought to shift U.S. foreign policy by opening diplomatic channels with China, a move that challenged the deep state's preference for perpetual Cold War tensions and the restoration of Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government. This pivot, combined with his skepticism of unchecked intelligence operations, made him a target. Yes, President Nixon didn't want China to turn communist. He wanted it, well, he wanted a better China. The Watergate scandal, while real, was inflated into a political guillotine by the coordinated effort involving the FBI, CIA, and legacy media allies. Leaks, now a hallmark of the deep state tactics, poured forth, painting Nixon as a paranoid crook. The FBI's Mark Felt, later revealed as Deep Throat, fed information to the press, ensuring Nixon's downfall, unlike the petty break-in at the Democrat National Committee, which, by the way, Nixon was doing to steal all the blackmail information the Democrat National Committee had on all their Democratic members to control them. He was trying to free up the Democrats, and he got busted. All right. The real crime was Nixon's attempt to steer U.S. policy away from the deep state's agenda. His resignation in 1974 wasn't just a personal defeat, it was a warning to future presidents. Damn. Cross the establishment and pay the price. John F. Kennedy, the ultimate sacrifice. John F. Kennedy's story is even more tragic. Initially a Cold Warrior, JFK's perspective shifted after the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, which brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. His 1963 American University speech called for peace and cooperation with the Soviet Union, a radical departure from deep state's hawkish stance. Kennedy also reportedly wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. Now, I've heard this all my life, but recently, when I've tried to research this saying from President Kennedy, it's been said that it wasn't him that said it, it was one of his aides or something. I don't know. After the Bay of Pigs fiasco exposed its rogue operations, the deep state's response was ruthless. On November 22nd, 1963, Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, while the official narrative pins the blame on Lee Harvey Oswald, a lone gunman. Yeah, right. The classified documents reveal the CIA's extensive knowledge of Oswald prior to the event, raising questions about their complicity or cover-up. The Warren Commission's investigation, riddled with inconsistencies, smells of whitewash. Kennedy's death served as a brutal reminder. No one, not even a president, is untouchable when they threaten the intelligence community's power. Now, I could have went a whole lot further down the rabbit hole on this, but I am not as knowledgeable as so many other people on social media, so I just generalized, all right, about President Kennedy. Donald Trump, the modern rebel. Donald Trump's presidency echoes the struggles of Nixon and Kennedy, but in a digital age where the deep state's tactics are more brazen. From the moment Trump took office in 2017, Trump faced relentless attacks from intelligence agencies, bureaucrats, and media. The Russiagate hoax, driven by unverified claims from a dossier funded by his political opponents, was a classic deep state operation to delegitimize his presidency. Leaks from within the intelligence community, 7 times more frequent in Trump's first 126 days than in previous administrations, fueled a narrative of treason and chaos. President Trump's vocal criticism of the military-industrial complex, echoing Eisenhower, further enraged the establishment in 2020. He accused Pentagon leaders of pushing wars to enrich defense contractors, a stance that aligned him with Eisenhower's warnings. His refusal to start new wars, breaking a decades-long tradition of U.S. military adventurism, threatened the profits and power of the war machine. Yet, like Nixon, Trump faced not just 2 known assassination attempts on his life, a military-industrial complex political assassination of sorts as well. The 2020 election, marred by allegations of irregularities, saw the deep state's media allies and tech oligarchs suppress dissenting voices, ensuring his ouster. In other words, y'all remember the big censorship wars. The blackmail machine. What unites these presidents is the deep state's use of blackmail and coercion to maintain control. The intelligence community's surveillance capabilities, honed since Eisenhower's era, allow it to collect compromising information on elected officials, ensuring compliance. Nixon's tapes, Kennedy's personal life, and Trump's business dealings were all exploited to paint them as unfit or dangerous. The FBI and CIA, as David Rode notes, have a history of overreach for spying on Democrats under Lyndon Johnson's Watergate abuses. Today, the tech industrial complex, as Joe Biden recently termed it, amplifies this power with social media giants and intelligence agencies colluding to control narratives and silence opposition. This blackmail machine stifles honest legislation. Lawmakers fearing exposure or career destruction often toe the deep state line, prioritizing corporate and military interests over the public's. Eisenhower's call for an engaged citizenry is more urgent than ever, and this unelected cabal undermines the will of the people. The consequences of defiance, the consequences for challenging the deep state are severe. Kennedy paid with his life. Nixon lost his presidency and legacy. Trump endured endless investigation, media vilification, 2 known assassination attempts, and an election that many conservatives believe was stolen. Each man, in his attempt to expose or circumvent the rot in D.C., faced a system that fights dirty to protect itself. The deep state doesn't just oppose, it destroys, using leaks, scandals, and even violence to maintain its grip. LA riots right now, y'all? A call to action. Eisenhower's warning was not heeded in his time, and the military-industrial complex has metastasized into a Frankenstein's monster that threatens the republic itself. Conservatives must rally behind leaders who dare to confront this beast, demanding transparency, accountability, and the dismantling of the surveillance and blackmail apparatus. The rotten DC won't be cleansed by timid reforms, but by bold action. Reining in intelligence agencies, breaking up tech monopolies, and restoring power back to we the people. Trump, Kennedy, and Nixon aren't perfect, but their fights against deep state are rooted in a desire to free America from unelected tyranny. As conservatives, we must honor the struggle by staying vigilant, exposing the truth, and ensuring that Eisenhower's vision of an alert citizenry becomes reality by getting out in mass during the midterm elections like we did during the 2024 elections, and ensure that we give President Trump a supermajority in Congress made up of America First patriots so we can get bills passed into law, which are harder to overturn than it is to overturn an executive order, which is, I mean, we all saw Biden sit there on day one during his presidency, undoing just about all of President Trump's executive orders. The future of our republic depends on this, y'all. So, what do you think? Give me your thoughts. Big thank you out there. I saw somebody had became a paid member of my Substack. So thank you very much. I'm going to now go and let me see, who was it that did that? Oh, Smay60. Yes, Smay60. Thank you for becoming a paid subscriber to my newsletter. Thank you. I appreciate that a whole lot. That's it for now. How long is it? Oh, 17 minutes. I think I'm making these, tolerable, short, sweet, to the point, putting the hyperlinks in there. Some of the hyperlinks are very biased in their nature, but hey, that's just media nowadays, thanks to Obama revising the Smith-Mundt Act. But I hope, y'all like this. Anyways, that's all. Got the day off today. Nothing to do. Been just sitting around doing nothing, enjoying not having to do anything for a whole day, which is great. So we'll see y'all in the chats. Bye.